looking at those shareware RPGs can be a bit hit or miss, and sometimes it can even be both at the same time. Today I'm looking at two RPGs, one which still holds up really beautifully, and one that could have been more, and you definitely see the vision, but that sadly falls a bit short. I have compared playing those shareware games a bit to sieving the dirt, trying to find something good among the tons of subpar and bad games. With Stone Mist, we're a bit more in the not so good territory. Now, it's a bit stale to compare every retro RPG to Ultima, but when looking at Stone Mist, I think it's quite apparent why the comparison immediately arises. You create your character, so you first run the character creation. It is quite typical, like you choose your name and your race, roll your stats, add the leftover points. It is what it is. Then you start the game and navigate the world map, and the towns and other settlements you find. Definitely check the manual for the controls, because how it's the tendency for RPGs like this, you have to look up which key does what, so you can navigate it properly. In the dungeons, it would be advisable to keep track of your routes and maybe even create a map. I think even the manual suggests that to you. I would say it's pretty standard for like 90s RPGs that they expect you to map out the dungeons. When you first enter the town and you go across, talk to the people there, get your clues, everyone's always telling you you have to go meet the king, and I mean, that's probably the most standard start of most RPGs like this. I was walking around town, going along, little aside. Every key you input into the game progresses the day-night cycle 1 hour. You very quickly get into the night and then back into the day. I mean, I guess there are many games that do it that way, but I definitely found it annoying when I was a bit lost. It's not really too much of an issue inside the city, because there the only problem with night is limited visibility, so you get these black bars around your field of vision. A bit annoying when you're stumbling lost through the city and trying to find the king. I don't know. I expect a bit when walking forward, or you start to see some castle-esque shapes. I mean, like, I know these maps are a bit basic in their design, the tiles are not super elaborate at times, but a lot of the times, like, you get when you look at the castle, I mean, I'm thinking about like the early Ultima games where navigation is not too easy, but you knew where to go eventually. Now here you talk to the people and you walk around, and I did not find the king for the longest time until I got the clue that there were portals and that you had to go to them, and I don't know if that was meant to be a portal, but in this one house of the magic dude, like he talks about magic, I have not progressed far enough to really get what his deal is. I attempted to climb down the well, and that worked, and I was in an underground dungeon. Then I remembered, wait a minute, there was another well when I was looking for the king. So I backtracked, went to the other well, climbed it down, and ta-da! The king is at the bottom of a well in an underground room with his advisors in this game. I don't know. Maybe that's on me and I missed something, but I don't know, maybe this medieval world is prone to airstrikes and the king has to live in some kind of protective bunker situation. But yeah, he's down at the well if you're looking for him. I don't know why, but there he is with his advisors, and from what I got from the text lines by the NPCs, for leveling up in this game, you're supposed to fight enough monsters and then talk to one of the guys down there, and then he will estimate whether your XP is enough for a level up, which it's not unheard of, but not the best way to go about leveling in RPGs. I prefer when you just level on the go. There you can talk to the king and you get your first quest you have to go on. Many old school RPGs try to go with some kind of early modern medievalish talk. I would say we all know Lord British in Ultima, and that is maybe mostly where it comes from, but definitely the most famous case. And it's not really that I don't mind it, but I would say you have to know what you're doing. I don't know whether that's a case of attempting to sound a bit fantasy-ish, medieval-ish, early modern-ish that went wrong, or this world is plagued by a demonic poultry, but what's that with the foul monster? Like, I don't know. I would assume you mean foul monster, or I just haven't found like the dangerous chicken you're all talking about here. I don't want to judge Stone Mist too harshly for what it is. It is quite generic for a standard CRPG. You go into the nearest town when you spawn in the world, you talk to the king, you have to go on a quest to defeat bandits, or generally, like, the world is plagued by evil, the evil monsters are loosely adapted from D&D, and now it's your job as the hero to kill whatever is meant to be killed. You get clues when talking to the NPCs in the city or on the world map. Really, it's pretty run of the mill. And I think the story and the quest is not really what you can judge Stone Mist for. When looking into the game a bit more, you quite quickly come across the concept behind it, and it's also part of the documentation that comes with the game, that the developer intended for Stone Mist to be more of a framework with which you can then create your own scenarios and quests, share them with other players, and get the quests others have made. It's quite natural that the game as is comes a bit more bare boned. I would say mechanically it is fine, but even then, when you start the game and you get attacked in a random encounter, run. If you don't have a weapon, you cannot engage in combat, but the game doesn't tell you that, and you just get an error and have to restart. At least I would say that's what happens, because I ran into that multiple times in the beginning, and then after I got a weapon, then the fights started working. That's a bit of an issue, especially when you first navigate the world and try to get to the first city. That sucks a bit, and the thing with the shareware version, you're capped at level 5, meaning that a lot of the game is not accessible to you. So, but yeah, I guess with a registered version that would have been no issue then. But without additional scenarios and quests, Stone Mist is a bit on the weak side. Now, there is a continuation, Stone Mist 2, and I will check this out in the future, because, like I said, it's not like horrible or atrocious or anything. So I will definitely give this other game a chance in the future, and we'll see what that has to offer. Now, where Stone Mist was a bit on the weaker side and I had to focus a bit more where it was meant to go versus where it actually managed to go, the Aethra Chronicles is definitely a very different case, because this RPG still has a loyal fan community, and I think when you're into those shareware RPGs, you probably have already heard of it, and I would say for a good reason. I went in relatively blind, just checking out the manual and looking how everything goes, and I already had a real good time. The game is immensely beautiful. You have this bird's eye view, and then when interacting with the map, you get these little windows which have additional details, and the interaction screen, you control it pretty much with the mouse, having all these little buttons in your interface. You have to get a bit used to it. I definitely had to find my footing. I don't know if it's because it's based on the Aroma RPG system, which I am not familiar with in a tabletop context, but just going from my experience with this game, I would say it translates really beautifully. to a computer RPG, and you first have to go through character creation, which is quite in depth, but also relatively standard for RPGs. You create your main character and then 2 additional party members, going to a party of 3, but you can recruit henchmen to up your party to 6 members, which the additional 3 you then recruit when you start the game. So you can definitely keep that in mind for a more balanced group than just see which characters you want to create, which you want to recruit. So I built my main character, picking from race and role they play, and rolling your stats, adding points. I would say really look into it and then make your choice informed, because when I first started the character creation I was a bit wrong-footed until I probably looked into the manual. Right, you're immediately presented with the main quest, having to look for this book this guy is missing and having the first clues where you have to go looking for it. And when traveling through the town and recruiting additional party members, setting your party up for dungeon crawling later on, you also immediately are presented with side quests and other clues. So really you're immediately in the thick of it and have to be quick on the note taking so you don't forget everything that is happening in this town or in this world. And yeah, you're immediately good to go. You start off with low vision in the dungeons, you have to navigate traps. The battles are quite well. I wiped in my first one, definitely messed up my party create, and I went into my first dungeon without recruiting additional members, just, the typical growing pains when getting started with. I've definitely been really enjoying this battle system, maybe because you have this whole party you have to manage, but also it's not just press a button and attack and just level up your weapon to press the same button for a bit stronger attacks. It actually is more in depth. You have your movement, you have your healing, you have the different roles your characters have. You have your more offensive or defensive abilities, and your healing you have to navigate, and the weaker and more strong personnel in your party with that, and movement from your opponents and yourself in battle. It's definitely engaging and fun. That is one of the strong points, I think, and something this game does really well. The Aethra Chronicles was planned as a 3-chapter story, and the shareware version is this first chapter of the story. I am honest, I have not played it all the way through, so I can't recap the story for you, but really, if you want to play this game, just go for it. You can find it on those shareware archives. It's really easy to find. You will even find a lot of resources when you want to use pre-made maps for it, and really, it's a blast. Definitely. As I said, I don't want to compare every RPG to Ultima, and I would even say the first point of comparison that came to mind for me was actually a Goldbox D&D. Now, I will freely admit that could be recency bias, because before playing Aethra Chronicles I was playing some Gateway to the Savage Frontier, so maybe it's just because it was fresh in my memory, but that definitely was what I was reminded of when going into this game. But really, it is really solid. The world feels very lived in, so after you get over the beginning portion where you have to learn the game, you very quickly really can sink into this world and be fully immersed in it. And I don't think that, I won't say many RPGs, but there are a lot of RPGs that don't manage that too well, because you have to fight the game a bit for too long and at too many points. And here, really, once I had the gameplay down, I got really into the flow of things. And I think when you are able to quickly get into the flow state in gaming, like not the boring grindy parts, but really just this natural flow in your progression, that's a major good sign for RPG. And I definitely had it with this game. I mean, these medieval fantasy settings, you could argue that they're a bit samey, maybe not like super revolutionary. If you're like me and you love these kinds of games and you really like late 80s, 90s RPGs, that's not something that will put you off. Like, that's basically why you play this game, isn't it? Or at least I would say, if it's done well, it's a real bonus, and if it's not like totally fucked up, I still get a lot of enjoyment out of the game. And I would say really Aethra Chronicles is on the side of games that are doing this well and really are doing the genre justice. And it's a bit sad to see that it is not getting either more attention or has like more games. I mean, as far as I'm aware, I could be wrong, like the second and third chapter are flowing around on the internet, like you can't register it, and I know it is claimed that the developer shared these freely and has like put all the game in the freeware open space. You either believe it or not, I don't know, but as far as I know, the developer is definitely not online or available for the community, or I wasn't able to find any communication talk by the developer, and I definitely would have loved more games by this guy. But there are very good fan sites where you find like everything that is available about. I can only suggest checking those out as well. I will link them below. And yeah, lose yourself in the world of Aethra Chronicles. You will have a blast. It's a lot of fun. Now that I wiped in my first proper fight in the beginning was definitely on me because I was a bit rushing, but when you take the time to properly look into the manual and the documentation, what comes with the game, and then take your time to set the game up, it's really fair. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed these ramblings about Stone Mist and the Aethra Chronicles, and definitely check these games out if they struck your fancy. As I said, Aethra Chronicles I fully suggest for anyone that likes this genre. And Stone Mist, it's not a waste of time, but there are better games out there. But I would still say, if you found the gameplay interesting and want to look into it, feel free to do so. That's a beautiful thing about Dust Shareware. You have like nothing to lose and everything to gain. So yeah, check these games out and see you next time. Bye!